Welcome to the podcast, Happy and Single. I'm your host, Joseph Anderson. You can find me on Instagram, the It's Possible Guy. And you can find our podcast Instagram at Happy and Single. So guys, before we begin, I just have some really exciting news that I want to share with each of you. And also just say a very heartfelt thank you. I am so grateful to each of you that listen to this podcast. And I am so with that being said, we just hit 15,000 downloads of the podcast Happy and Single. So thank you so much for sharing it with your friends and family and anyone else that you feel will benefit. Thank you so much for listening. I am so grateful, and it is so fun to watch it grow and grow and grow. Thank you. Today is episode 71, and it's entitled, Why is Stillness and Silence So Important? Funny enough, I was planning on doing this podcast on something else, and then last night, I just kind of had this feeling. It'd been a long time since I'd been to the temple. Now, I happen to be a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, so if you've ever seen those giant temples, I like to go in those and to reflect. And it was amazing because as I went in, I just felt such quiet, such stillness, and such peace. The world is getting so incredibly noisy. It's exhausting. And it's funny, sometimes when we even take a moment to be silent, or a moment to ponder, or a moment to, do any of those things, we actually find ourselves falling asleep. Because our brains and our minds are running so quickly. Yeah, there's so much that we think we have to get done. And we do. We have goals. We have things that we want to work on and things that we want to accomplish. But one of the thoughts I had this morning was how not taking time and stillness for ourselves is almost like you're in a giant race. Actually, a really cool example is from the movie Cars. Yes, I do use plenty of Disney analogies on this podcast. But in the movie Cars, there's one of them. There's a scene where, his pit crew tells him, hey, you need to stop. You need to get tires. You need, I think at that moment it was just that he needed tires, and he basically says, don't bother me. And on the last lap, he ends up blowing a tire. Well, that's us. That's every one of us that aren't taking time out to pause, to be quiet, and to reflect. You may be thinking, you're like, Joseph, I barely have time to do almost anything. Where in the world am I going to find time to pause and reflect? I don't know your schedule. I don't know your life. I do know for myself there are plenty of times that I find myself getting caught up and I waste a lot of time. And I'm just guessing that it might be that way for you too. If you can't take an hour, take 30 minutes. If you can't take 30 minutes, take 15. If you can't take 15, take 5. And if you can't even take 5, please take 5. You can even simply set up a timer. There's places that probably inspire you and probably help and make you come alive that are super helpful for you. For me, as I said before, one of my places of peace is the temple. There is just an absolute peace there. And it's funny because we don't realize how noisy our head is getting and all of the thinking that is being created until we've taken that moment to have that peace. I mean, this morning when I was there for probably about an hour and a half or 2 hours, probably closer to 2 hours. And it was just so wonderful. Another analogy that I had relating to this is, from what I understand, when a boat is in salt water, it picks up all of these little tiny crustaceans and things that attach themselves to the hull of a ship. Now, I guess many times we don't even realize that we have all of these little things attached to us. All of these tiny crustaceans, whatever you want to call them. But we do. And we don't even realize it. It's like since I left the temple this morning, I have felt incredibly calm and just incredibly at peace. And it's been a beautiful feeling. I mean, once we've been out of the hot tub for a while, we forget how good the hot tub feels. I mean, I want you to think about for yourself, where is your place of peace? Where is your place of inspiration? And when's the last time that you went there? And I want to even add it further. Like, when's the last time you went there with nothing on your mind? Or, by the time you got there and you allowed yourself to really be present in that space. There is such a peace available to each of us if we will but take it. I mean, is it really that important, to watch that next episode of whatever, to play that next video game? And I do that stuff too, guys. There's no judgment here. But I can tell you, after I do some of those things, we almost are operating on autopilot. We forget how amazing and incredible the world can be. And when we're operating on autopilot, it's a little bit, and we'll see where this analogy goes, but it's a little bit like operating on Windows 95 when you have Windows 10 or 11 or I don't know what we have right now, like whatever the newest one is. Or the one right before that. We operate so much better when we're not full of bugs. Software operates better when it doesn't have as many bugs. But the funny thing is, we don't even realize it. Unlike there's people out there that are professional bug checkers. They check all kinds of code for bugs and other things. We don't have that. And you know what? We don't need to. We don't have to go back and figure out every little thing that went wrong in our lives. I know as singles, we can definitely have a tendency to do that. Oh, if only I'd done this different. If only I'd done this different. I actually had a little bit of this, pondering and, a conversation with Heavenly Father about this morning. Well, if I had, if I had done certain things different, would I be married? Well, look, I can't know that, first of all. And possibly not. I mean, if Heavenly Father has his timeline for me, then that's his timeline. And if the more that I learn to just understand that and not think about, oh, well, what if I would have done this different? What if I would have done this other thing different? There are so many different choices that we could have made. But there's infinite realities that could have led to. There's a really cool book out there. It's called The Midnight Library. And in the book, the character is full of regret and gets the chance to experience a lot of different lifetimes. And you know what? Every single lifetime that she experiences wasn't what she thought it would be. In one, she gets to be this super famous rock star and gets to see the different challenges that come there. In another, she gets to live her dream of doing something in marine biology and finds the other challenges there. In the moments of peace, you can be given the messages that you need from that still small voice, from the Spirit. Every one of us are given so many answers all the time. And we simply say, oh, I'm too busy to go do that thing. I'm too busy to do that other. Do you know the amazing thing is it's when we take stuff off of our minds. It's like yesterday when I happened to be driving, and I can't remember if it was to a business meeting or from a business meeting. Not that even matters. But I just had this idea. It's like how many people see my car all the time? Well, why not put a sticker on it that says the Happy and Single Podcast? Now, normally what I would have done, I would have put that in a little digital file or on a piece of paper labeled ideas. And I would have done nothing different. However, this time, what I did was I came home, I got on the phone, I found a company that is literally 2 or 3 miles from my house that could have it done by the next day. So in the space of about 24 hours, I got done exactly what I needed to. And guys, like it looks really, really cool. I mean, I was super happy about this. I do a lot of my own graphic design and stuff that you guys see on the Instagram page, and so I was really happy with that. Well, what would have happened if I had received that answer in that moment of peace and quiet, and I'd done nothing different? Nothing would have happened. Nothing would have happened at all. But when my mind is racing, it is impossible for anything to talk to me. Now, I remember hearing this story. This man was driving down the road in a really nice car. It was probably a Beamer, Mercedes, or whatever it was. And all of a sudden, a rock was thrown at his window. And he went back, and there was this kid. And his first reaction was to be super upset that this kid just broke his window. But the kid was there and looked very worried. And he said, "Hey, I couldn't get any cars to stop. I'm sorry I broke your window. My my friend is hurt and needs to go to the hospital." And the man instantly changed. And he took the kid to the hospital. Well, guys, that's us. We're the ones racing around in cars. I mean, this came to me so clearly this morning as I reflected in the temple. We're not taking the time to take those pit stops, to even just take a break. We're so focused on the things that we want to create, or we're focused even worse on the things we're worried about. What if you just took a moment each day to pause? One of the things that I'll sometimes do if I'm watching a live sporting event, and actually, I guess I haven't done this for a little while, but is I'll actually mute on commercials. And you notice the vast difference in the sound of silence. Silence has a beautiful sound, it has a beautiful feeling. It allows us to be in the land of the unknown. We don't need somebody trying to sell us a hamburger or whatever else they're trying to sell us on TV. We need answers. And those answers are given to us through that still small voice, the Spirit. And if I listen, it's amazing what comes out of that. And if I don't, then it won't be so amazing. Every single one of you has ability and access to this silence. I mean, even right now, and you guys might notice that sometimes on these podcasts, there's a lot of pauses. There's times that I do that intentionally. Other times I'm literally just waiting for the next thing to come to say. Now, if the pause gets too big, you'll notice there might be a shorter break because I probably paused the recording. Have you ever felt and just enjoyed that moment of silence? What if I told you that the most powerful thing that I could teach anybody is silence? There's a phrase coming to my mind that my nieces and nephews always quote. I've never actually seen the movie, but I think it's from Luca, and it's Silencio Bruno. Now, silencio in some language means silence as a command. Silencio. All of us could use a little more silencio. In the silence, the peace and quiet and beautiful feeling that every one of you are able to have and experience is there for you. You know, it's important to take that silence, those moments away from friends, away from family, and just be. Just soak in that beautiful, beautiful hot tub of this beautiful feeling. Maybe you guys are even feeling it now. You know, it's in that moment of silence we can be told that, hey, Joseph, you're okay. Hey, insert whatever your name is, you're okay. John, Bob, Alice, Tom. Every one of you are okay exactly as you are. And in those moments of silence, we can be given that reassurance. Hey, you're right where I want you to be. I can't tell you how many times I've had those experiences where I do receive that reassurance that I'm in the right place. Because so often we want to say, oh my goodness, like, as I was saying before, if only I would have done better, if only I would have done more. Every answer you could possibly imagine is in the silence. Every answer you're possibly looking for is right there. I talk about on plenty of these podcasts about the Spirit. Other times I use words like inner wisdom, the inner voice, the still small voice. It doesn't matter who you are. You have access to this. We just learn to better and better listen to it. That's all that happens, guys. We just get better and better and better. There's a part in a book called the Book of Mormon where God is trying to speak to these people. And they keep looking around, and it's not until the third time that they actually hear the voice, that they actually kind of recognize the voice. When we're sitting there thinking so hard about what we're doing or what we need to do, we're thinking from a place of all of our past experiences, of all of our past knowledge. The answers that you've gotten so far have gotten you to this place. But in this place of silence, whatever it is that you believe in, as I shared, for me, it's Heavenly Father teaching me through the Spirit. He can teach you the answers to every single one of your challenges in their due time. And every one of us is learning every day, and it doesn't do any good to beat ourselves up. Now, some of you guys, as you've been listening to this, you might feel a little bit tired. I'm actually feeling a tiny bit tired now. Because the more we stay in this space, oh my goodness, life is just amazing. One of the things I'll say is the Spirit is our superpower. Or inner wisdom is your superpower, inner voice, or the still small voice is your superpower. Because it gives you all the answers. It inspires you what to do. Are you putting those things on a list and putting them away? Or are you acting immediately? Now, of course, there's a difference between thinking we know the answer and something just feeling right, honestly, like the next thing to do. As you take time to be in silence, you will begin to discover some amazing, incredible things. And when you start laughing at yourself for not seeing things that you didn't see before, you're on the right track. I just did that in this moment. I would invite you to just take a few moments out of your week this week and simply just sit in silence and hear whatever comes. Now, it won't feel like a nagging feeling. It'll feel like a beautiful feeling. If you happen to be religious, in Galatians 5:22, it talks about all these beautiful feelings. And if you don't happen to be religious and still want to see what these feelings are, you're still welcome to, find that online. But it's a beautiful, warm, wonderful feeling. It's not that nagging, yucky feeling like, come on, get on with it. It's not that. It's peace. It's loving kindness. And I figured, since I have my computer right here, I might as well just look it up and read it to you guys. And what I noticed as I looked this up is in the few verses before this, it talks about what the Spirit is not. It talks about what this wonderful feeling is not. So if you want to look at it, you can check some of those out. But the good feelings, it says here, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, I like that word, faith, meekness, temperance. So if you're feeling one of those beautiful feelings, then you can generally trust whatever you're feeling. If you're feeling clouded or just kind of that yucky feeling, that yucky feeling, I kind of describe as it's like you're in a bad neighborhood, or you're starting to go into a bad neighborhood, and it's saying you just kind of have that yucky feeling like, hey, get out of here. That's what that yucky feeling is telling you. It's just, hey, get out of whatever you're thinking in this moment. But this beautiful feeling, once again, is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. And so once again, I really want to invite you to spend time in this beautiful feeling. I know much of what I share with you guys sounds really simple and silly. These are the things that have changed my life in every sense that you could possibly begin to imagine. Beginning to learn to trust in the Spirit, to trust this guidance that we receive all the time, is changing my life. And if you pause and sit in silence and listen to these beautiful feelings and this guidance, and then follow whatever you're inspired to do, it will change yours too. Now, if you've made it to this point in the podcast, I'd like to invite you to go ahead and subscribe to the podcast. I don't know how you got here, but that way, if you ever want to get back here again, it's right there for you in your subscriptions. And if you haven't already joined us, one of the really cool things that I do that's free for anyone that would like to participate is each Monday morning at 10 a.m. Arizona time, I host a group coaching call for Happy and Single. Anyone is welcome to come on, and you can even receive a little bit of one-on-one coaching time with me, depending on how many people are in the call. Now, every now and then that schedule changes, so you can go to the website happynsingle.com to be able to look at the schedule and also to be able to find the link to the Zoom room. Now, at the same time, if you would prefer a more one-on-one type of coaching experience where you can sit down and share your hopes and dreams and just kind of the stuff going on in your world, then there's another option available for you as well. Now, the bulk of my business is actually doing one-on-one coaching. If that's something you're interested in exploring, I've got a few spots open in my coaching practice. You can just message me on Instagram at the It's Possible Guy, and we can sit down and have a chat. And it doesn't matter where you're at in the world. I've worked with people across the world. I do everything over Zoom, so it actually makes it pretty easy. Thank you guys so much again for listening. And go out and live your adventure. Thank you.